How's it going, YouTube? I am back again. I'm on a roll with these videos, but I'm here to do a video called Tips for Newbies from a Newbie. So if you're a newbie HGV driver, or you're someone who's just starting your HGV journey and you want some tips for newbies, then this is the place to be. In the first couple of weeks that I started driving, I started to make a list of tips for newbies, all the things I was picking up, and I'm going to go through them and share them with you as someone. This is the end of the 7th week now of professionally driving as a HGV driver, and before then I'd never been in a lorry and know nothing about lorries until I passed my test, which was at the beginning of August. I've only been driving with a job since the beginning of September, and it is now October the 18th. So anyway, number one, when you're reversing and you're not sure how far back to go or how close you are to something, get out and have a look. It doesn't matter if you have to get out 3 times, 4 times, whatever. Just get out and look, because it's better to have a look and make sure that you don't hit anything than to try and be, I don't need to get out, and then you hit something. Even if there's people on the yard and there's loads of people around you, it doesn't matter, because what I've noticed is they all say, I always make a comment like, oh, watch out the way, woman driver here, I always make a joke, and everyone says, don't worry, we were all learning once. So it's the same for you. If you're a newbie, everyone starts at the beginning. No one is born knowing how far back to reverse or knowing how close you are to something. It's something that we all have to learn. So don't be scared to get out your wagon and have a look if you need to. Another one, don't be scared to tell the forklift driver who's loading your wagon where to put the things that you want. It might be once you get used to your run, you start to realise that you can't park very well at a certain yard or a certain place that you go. You can only unload on the passenger side or on the driving side or whatever. Don't be scared to tell your forklift driver, can you put that on this side or on that side, or can you move it here or move it there? And even if you go around to your different places, if there's something that's moved, if a bin has moved or whatever, and it's just not how you want it, don't be scared to ask the forklift driver, excuse me, would you mind moving that bin or whatever? Because 9 times out of 10 they're always happy to help you. And at the end of the day, if you're carrying heavy things, you can't lift them up and move them, so someone needs to help you, which 9 times out of 10 they do, no problem. That leads me on to the next point, which is, if you visit the same places regularly, try and be friendly and make friends with the people who are there. The people that work at the factory, the people who sign your paperwork for you, the forklift drivers. Because if you're friendly and pleasant with them, even if it's raining and it's cold and you're miserable, just go in, morning, how are you? Because it really makes a difference. These people are then more likely to help you when you need help. I remember when I first started, I think in my 2nd week, I had a puncture, and then I was parked on this yard at a factory we deliver to, and I said to them, my tyre's flat, can I leave the wagon here? And they're like, yeah, no problem, Hayley, don't worry about it, no problem. And it just goes a long way. When you need help, they'll help you if you're pleasant with them. I mean, if you're miserable and you're not very polite and you're not very nice, they're not going to help you. They're going to tell you, you can't leave that there, mate, you better move it. So be friendly to people. It goes a long way. If you're delivering to somewhere and you haven't been there before, use Google Maps and Google Street View to have a good look at where you're going, a good look at if you can see the factory or the yard or wherever you're delivering to. See what gates there are. If you can, is there anywhere to turn round? Have a look at all this stuff before you go, because the least thing you want is you get close, you can't find the place, or there's nowhere to pull over so you can't check Google Maps, You know, just check before you go. Failing that, you could also have the company phone number written down somewhere, or it might be on your paperwork. Phone them and say, I'm a new driver, you know, the sat nav's telling me to turn down here, is that right? Can you give me directions? Am I going to get stuck? Is there somewhere for me to turn around? You can ask these questions. There's no shame in being new. At the end of the day, you'd rather get it right than get your wagon stuck. Because if you get your wagon stuck and you can't turn it around, then you're going to annoy everybody. Everybody's going to get delayed. The other wagon drivers are going to be annoyed because you're in the way and you've made a fool of yourself. So it's just best to be, you know, just don't be scared to ask. Carry a notebook and pen, and then if there's something that someone tells you, or you need a phone number or anything that you might forget, or even where you're delivering your stuff to, or even a diagram of your wagon showing you what's where on the wagon in case you forget, so you only have to open one curtain or half a curtain, then bring a notebook and pen with you so you can write it down. Because on my first week and second week, I forgot everything. Someone would tell me something, and with all the trying to learn how to drive the wagon and what goes where, you forget things, and there's no shame in that. But just bring a notepad and pen, and then that's going to help you out. Know where the nice toilets are. I think being a woman, I'm noticing this more because there's some places you go and they don't have a women's toilet. So you have to know where the nice toilets are if you're visiting the same places more than once. Just point out to yourself, make a note which ones are the nice places. Also make a note of your opening times of the places that you deliver to if you can, and what time they close on a Friday. Or you'll do what I did and you'll pull up and all the gates are closed and you can't deliver anything, you have to turn around. So yeah, know where the nice facilities are, where the nice cafes are, and you're well away. Make a note in your head, there's a nice cafe there, because it comes in, trust me, it does. Check the tensions of your straps regularly. So I strap up the load in the morning, but when I deliver somewhere, I just give them a wiggle to see if they're still tight, because at the end of the day, the last thing you want is something moving. These bins what I'm carrying are heavy, I can't push them, you need a forklift to push them. So you don't want to be in the situation where something's bulging out the curtain about to fall off and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's best to be safe than sorry. Just check them. It's a 2-second job just to be safe, particularly if what you're carrying is round. Things that are round always tend to move, I have found. Things that are round move more, and you have to keep tightening the strap on them, because if the strap's not completely over them, then they'd move, and that's the last thing you want, is falling off, you know. So check them. Wet wipes. Carry wet wipes with you, because then you can just clean your hands if you need to, or you'd be surprised how dirty things get in here, like your steering wheel and your door handle to open the door when you get in. They pick up a bit of dirt from the different places, so keep some wet wipes in your wagon, and then at least you can clean your hands before you eat your dinner, particularly if there's no facilities where you are and you can't wash your hands, say you're in a lay-by or something. At least if you've got wet wipes, you can clean your hands before you eat your dinner. When you open the curtain, if you've got a curtain-sided vehicle, if it's a windy day, open one curtain first, unload that side, then close it, then open the other one if it's really windy, because then it's going to protect you. It's going to act as a shield, and then you're not going to be like blown off your lorry, because that's not good. No one wants that to happen. Also, if it's windy, you don't want the pole of the curtain flapping around everywhere, or it's going to blow into somebody or something. So if you use the hook on the curtain, try and hook it under your wagon so it holds it there and stops it from blowing around, because the last thing you want is the forklift driver to be driving around your wagon and a gust of wind blows the curtain into him. Aside from it being a you've been framed moment to go on YouTube or something, it's gonna hurt him, and then they'll probably complain against you for not doing something about it. So tuck your hook on your curtain under your wagon. It's in my curtain video, how to open a curtain video, if you've got no idea what I mean. But yeah, always tie them back if you can, so they don't blow everywhere and hit people in the face. Carry an emergency charger with you. What I mean by an emergency charger is one of those power packs that you can charge your phone with. Like, you charge your power pack at home, then you can bring it with you and charge your phone when you're out and about. I always said, well, what do I need one of those for when I can charge my phone in the lorry? And then the driver trainer pointed out to me on the first week, well, if the lorry won't start, then you can't charge your phone. So always carry a way of charging your phone, an emergency power pack with you, so you can charge your phone if you're in an emergency and you need to call someone. Put a bin in your lorry. If you're using the same lorry like I am, this is the wagon that I drive, no one else drives it unless I'm off sick, put a bin in there, because when you're eating your chocolate bar or your snack or, you know, your grapes, you need to have a bin to put your rubbish in. So in mine I've got a bin, and every week I empty my bin and then I put a fresh bag in there. Job done. And then if I've got any rubbish in here, I've got somewhere to put it rather than all over the passenger seat. Carry a bottle of screen wash if you can. The other driver that drove this wagon before me, he always had in here a bottle of screen wash, and it's still in here. He showed me about it. There you go. So if ever your screen wash is running low and you can't wash your windscreen, he's got here a bottle, and then all you have to do is just put a bit in there and add some water. Job done. That's a good tip, because you don't want to be out and about with a dirty windscreen and you can't clean your windscreen. It's just a 2-second job. Always have that if you can. If you have a manual lorry, block changing the gears is better and is faster. So if you've got 8 gears, this lorry that I'm driving is 4 gears on the bottom box and 4 gears in the top box. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go and have a look at my first week in a HGV video, first week as a lorry driver, and you'll see me talking about how confused I was about this gearbox. But it's best to go, I found, from 2 to 4, flick the switch to the top box, then go 5, 7, or 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Block changing is better and it's faster, because in these low box gears 1, 2, 3 and 4, they don't last long, they don't have any power, so they're only good enough for you to pull away. Then you need the higher gears to get you moving. If you use a car sat nav, be very careful, because they won't point out to you low bridges, and they won't point out weight restrictions or 7.5 ton restrictions where like in a city centre you can't go down there. They won't point that out to you because it's designed for a car. So you need to have your eyes open for the road signs, especially if it's somewhere you haven't been before. You need to have your eyes everywhere for road signs that tell you about low bridges and weight restrictions. Don't rely on your sat nav, because mine is a car sat nav, and some of the roads it tells me to go down, there's no chance that I'd fit this down there, and there might be a low bridge down there. It might be telling me turn left, but there's a 9-foot bridge there and mine is 13'4". It's not going under. If you're unsure where something that you deliver goes, like say you have a pallet on there and you forgot where it goes, there should always be paperwork somewhere that tells you where it goes. Or if you're stuck, just ask. Try phoning the person who is in charge for you and asking, or failing that, if you can't get in touch with anyone and you have no idea, just take it back, because they don't want you to deliver it somewhere where it's not supposed to go. So just take it back and say, look, I'm a new driver, I'm sorry, I forgot where it went. I did it my first week. I had a pallet on there was no paperwork on it, and I had no idea where it went, and I was asking the people each stop I was doing, does this go to you or to you or to you? And they were saying, no, it's not for us. So in the end I took it back and I just apologised, and it actually went to the first place that I went in the day. It was the first drop, so I had to take it back. But it's always best to be safe than sorry. Watch the tail of your lorry when you're going round corners and when you're pulling away, particularly if you've parked close to a wall or something, or parked cars. When you turn, to the right, the tail is going the opposite way. So when you're turning, you need to be so careful of your tail. If it looks like it's going to hit, then it's going to hit. Failing that, you can always get out and have a look. You know, it's just be so careful, because even when you're turning, say there's 2 lanes in traffic and you're in the lane to turn right, when you turn, watch that tail, because it's going to go into the oncoming traffic, like the ones that are coming past you. Just be so careful with the tail. I can't express this enough. That's what I noticed about driving this wagon. You need to watch the tail and you need to be careful, because you can hit something so easily. And because it's behind you, and you know, it's behind you, it's like we're at the pantomime, because it's so far away from you, you can't hear it when it hits. You might hit something and not know, so you have to be so careful. Watch your tail in the mirror. If you're driving a flatbed lorry and you're having different loads on of different heights, carry a tape measure with you, because there's no point going to a low bridge and having a guessing game. Carry a tape measure so you know how tall the highest part of the wagon is, because you don't want to hit a bridge and be on the front page of the newspaper. New lorry driver passed a week ago, hits bridge and delays the railway, and you're just going to make a right fool of yourself. Carry a tape measure and measure it. Carry spare gloves with you. There's nothing worse than it's raining and your gloves are wet, and you get in your wagon, drive to the next place, and then you got to put your wet gloves on again if it's stopped raining. Carry spare ones. I mean, you get through them quick anyway, but, well, if you've got like a dirty job like I have with all this oil and grease on these nuts and bolts. But carry spare ones. It doesn't hurt and they don't take up any space. Carry spare gloves. Always lock your cab when you get out the wagon, even if you're only out there for 2 minutes. If someone breaks in your wagon and takes your stuff and you didn't lock it, it's your fault. The company are not going to be on your side because you should have locked it. So always lock your door when you get out. Also, lock it while you're inside, because you never know. You get these nutters who try and open your door when you're queuing in traffic. You never know. Lock your door. It's best to be safe. You don't know who's around, and you don't know who's out there going to try and steal your wagon, so or hurt you. Make sure you lock the door. On that point though, whenever I drive on the motorway, I always unlock my door, because I think to myself, if I was in an accident and I ended up unconscious, who's going to open the door? The emergency services can't open the door if it's locked, and they can't help me if it's locked. So lock your door when you're in towns and things like that, but when you're on the motorway, unlock it, just in case. You never know. Take earphones with you. You're allowed to make phone calls while you're driving, as long as it's hands-free. So if you take some earphones or one of those Bluetooth things, then you can make a phone call if you need to. Like if your boss calls you, you can answer it without getting, a fine for using your phone while driving. Some people still believe that you shouldn't make phone calls anyway, whether it's hands-free or not. But if you do need to answer a call or something, have some earphones or have a hands-free kit that you can answer with if you need to. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till you pull over. Exchange phone numbers with your colleagues. So if there was another driver at the factory that I was working from who had a lot more experience than me, when I first went there, we exchanged phone numbers, and then if I had a problem, he was there as a friendly bit of advice if I needed it, or directions if I needed them, which I did on my first week. I got myself in a right tease, but we won't go into that. Exchange phone numbers with your manager or whoever's in charge. So or the mechanic or your breakdown, have all this planned, because if you break down and you don't know who to call, you can't call the Ghostbusters. You've got to have the phone number of who you need to call, so you're going to be safe. So exchange phone numbers. When you wind up your straps, wind the strap towards the hook. So if the hook was facing that way, wind the strap that way towards the hook. And then when you throw it, your hook's this way and you've got the reel there and you can throw it like that better. If it's wound the other way, I find that when I throw it, it twists and then I have to climb up on the wagon and untwist it. So wind your straps towards the hook. Don't have your music too loud when you're driving around. If you have the radio really loud, then you're not going to be able to hear sirens and people trying to get past you, the police, the ambulances. I remember when I was driving on a slip road to get onto, a dual carriageway, I could hear sirens and I couldn't see them. I could hear them. I didn't know if they were on the main carriageway that I was trying to join or if they were behind me. I had no idea. I was looking in my mirrors, I couldn't see them at all. It turns out it was an ambulance, and the ambulance was right behind me. Well, you've seen the signs on lorries, if I can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. No, if you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. It's true. The ambulance was behind me, I couldn't see him. It took someone in another car over there to tell me, you know, he's behind you. He's behind you. So I had to move out the way. But if I'd have had my radio on loud, I wouldn't have heard those sirens and I couldn't see him. So we're in danger in someone's life. Someone could have been dying out there. So you need to make sure that you're listening out for things like that. If you have a lorry with a tracker installed like mine does, be careful, because some of the trackers record your audio. So things that you say in the lorry are being recorded if your ignition is turned on, in this case. So just be careful the things you say. Don't say nasty things about your boss if you're in the wagon and your tracker's recording, because they're going to hear you. If you have a curtain-sided lorry, the driver who drove this wagon before me, he looked after this wagon, and when the wagon was loaded with these bins that we carry, he'd climb up and spray WD-40 in the curtain rail at the top, and as a result these curtains go lovely, no effort at all, they just pull lovely and pull back lovely. So if you can, spray WD-40 or something in your curtain rail to keep your curtains moving freely. Some lorries have scales in them to tell you how much weight you've got on the back. I'll show you mine in a minute, but you have to be careful as the driver, because in the factories they'll load you up with all kinds of stuff and they're not thinking about the weight, because they're not going to get in trouble. If you get pulled over and you're over your weight limit, you are responsible. Not the factory, not your boss, nobody. You are responsible. If you get pulled over, you'll get the fine, you'll get the points on your licence, or your licence taken off you. So you need to be careful. You need to look on the paperwork what the weight is, ask them what the weight is, you know, make sure that you don't go over your weight limit, because if you get stopped, you are responsible. On my lorry here, it's a bit dusty, this camera's showing up all this dust, oh dear. On my lorry here I have a button, and if I go on there to the left, it shows me the scales for my lorry. So it's telling me that I have 7.2 tons on the front axle, like not the front, you know what I mean, the first one on the trailer thing, and 5.3 on the back axle. The front axle where the cab is, it doesn't show me on here, but I can see that I'm carrying 12.5 tons and my weight limit for this wagon is 14. So as long as that number there says under 14, then I am within my weight limit. Obviously these scales are probably not 100% accurate, but they're a good guideline. So if your wagon has these, find out if it has these so you can use it. Another thing as well, this, even when the wagon is empty, it will still show a number on here, because obviously it still weighs something with all the curtains and the roof and everything and the bed that you put the stuff on. It still weighs something even when it's empty. So, you know, just be careful with your weight limit. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I can't think of any more tips for you. These are all of the things that I wrote down in my first 7 weeks of being a HGV driver. These are my tips to you. If you're a newbie, these are my tips to you from a newbie myself. I haven't been in it long either, and I feel your pain. So anyway, if you liked this video, you can give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more of my videos, then you can click subscribe to me and I'll be pleased to have you on board. Otherwise, I will leave it there and I'll see you in the next one.